Welcome back. Former U.S. President and current Republican hopeful Donald Trump was supposed to be interviewed tonight by Elon Musk on X, but technical issues have forced a change of plans. Many people haven't been able to get into the chat and listen to the conversation. Journalist Nick Harper is following this story for us from Washington. Nick, I'm just on X looking at people's comments. Some people have been waiting for 15, 20 minutes trying to get in. I know that you were not able to get in either. Elon Musk has tweeted about what went wrong. What is he saying?
Yeah, the idea was that I was meant to come on now and tell you about everything I'd heard in the last 35 minutes. That has not been the case. Elon Musk has said there appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X. Now, that's a type of cyber attack where there are actors who are trying to flood servers to disrupt or interrupt the ability for people to get onto that site. He's gone on to say that X is working to shut it down. Worst case, we proceed with a smaller group of live listeners and post the conversation later. He has since updated to say that he plans to have a smaller number of concurrent listeners at 8:30 Eastern and then post the unedited audio immediately afterwards. I just tried to get on and I actually was able to. There was just music in the background. There was no conversation. In theory, things are up and running. But the problem is over the last 35 minutes, people like myself have been logging in to try and listen. I was given a screen that at one point said details not available. At another point, it said this space is not available. And there was an emoji of a monkey holding its head in its hands. It is disastrous for X, for Donald Trump. The hope was that everyone would be able to listen live. Remember, of course, that something like this went spectacularly wrong just over a year ago in May 2023, where Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, announcing his presidential bid on X, was trying to have that conversation with Elon Musk. It was beset by technical issues like the type we've seen this evening. Many people simply not able to log on. We'll have to wait and see now whether people can get on and whether that conversation gets underway.
Nick, I'm just seeing a lot of people posting that very image, the emoji of a monkey holding its head that you just described. Some people have also said just over 200,000 are listening in when it flashes up and then disables again. So definitely still beset by technical problems. Let's talk a little bit about the why. Why had Elon Musk arranged this interview? The two men had certainly not always seen eye to eye. In fact, they publicly exchanged jabs at one point not that long ago. But Elon Musk now seems to be firmly in Donald Trump's camp. What led to this change?
Yeah, really not that long ago, only in the last year and a half, very publicly attacking one another on X and Trump's social media platform Truth Social. And remember that Elon Musk was a Democrat until recent times when he says that he became disillusioned with the Biden administration. There was also a very public snub in 2021 when he was not invited to the White House electric vehicle event, a big conference for electric vehicle makers. Obviously, he is the owner of Tesla, but was not invited. Then he moved his allegiance to Ron DeSantis and tried to host that launch event before saying that he was backing publicly Donald Trump just over a couple of weeks ago after that assassination attempt. He said that he would back Donald Trump and endorse him. He's now trying to get voters rallying around Donald Trump, trying to fundraise for him. And remember, ideologically, they are very much aligned. They both feel that there was election fraud in the 2020 election. They both battle against big government, battle against the media. So there are certain things that they certainly agree on. It's things that potentially could be discussed if this interview gets underway during the course of this evening.
Nick, thank you so much for that. And I know that we're all trying to find out what is being said in this interview, but looks like not too many people have been successful. Thank you so much, Nick. Now let's talk some more about Elon Musk's endorsement of Donald Trump and his efforts to get the former president reelected. Dana Mattioli is a Wall Street Journal reporter. She co-authored an article today for her paper titled "Inside Elon Musk's Hands-On Push to Win 800,000 Voters for Trump." She's also the author of The Everything War, Amazon's ruthless quest to own the world and remake corporate power. Dana, thank you so much for making time for us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Dana, this is Elon Musk's first really overt step into politics. He has been heavily involved in this super PAC. How has it been going?
Yeah, so he started this super PAC back in the spring is when he started mobilizing and meeting with vendors and political consultants. And it followed, this break from the Democratic Party that we've been reporting about with his frustration with the Biden administration, but also this ideological shift that we've seen him undergo. And they'd hired vendors with the stated goal of getting 800,000 low propensity voters in swing states to show up for Donald Trump and to register new voters. And, they had started down that path. But more recently, just a few weeks ago, Elon signed off on firing many of the vendors, which means that they've had a bunch of setbacks and, stumbles as it relates to obtaining those goals.
I wanted to ask you, Dana, I was just talking to our journalist, Nick Harper, about this. A few years ago, it was more complex to describe where Elon Musk stood politically, whether he was libertarian, he was independent. What happened between him and the Democrats? Because we have now seen him heavily promoting Trump on X and attacking Kamala Harris. What brought us to this point?
Yeah, that's right. So he has said that up until the last few years, he exclusively voted Democrat. If you think about the mission of some of his companies, they're very much about not using fossil fuels, about being more environmentally sustainable. Really, missions aligned more with the Democratic Party. But what we've seen is that, the Biden administration shunned Elon from the White House. The UAW, the United Auto Workers Union, basically had an ultimatum of sorts in place that he could not be mentioned, he could not be invited to White House events, and instead they were to focus on U.S. Auto companies with unions, even though they had a much smaller share of EV market share. And that really did, create some tension between Elon and the Biden administration. And then, as he accumulated more and more wealth, he's the richest person in the world, more progressive parts of the Democratic wing have villainized him in some ways, have made him the poster boy for corporate greed or not paying the fair share of taxes. So it was this confluence of events in the Democrats that really created this opening for him to now move more toward the Republicans. And, we saw him come out with this endorsement for Donald Trump after the assassination attempt. But in the background of all of that, he's been meeting with GOP donors and talking about the state of the country and how to get Donald Trump reelected. And that culminated with this America PAC, which is sort of historic in terms of what it's trying to do and who's involved.
I remember, Dana, I was co-hosting a live special on the night that there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And I remember that tweet by Elon Musk, or a post that took me aback a bit, because he said, he was glad that he was alive, and posted that picture, of course, with Donald Trump rising up, with a fist pump and saying, and this is why I endorse him. And I thought that was the first time I'd seen it put so openly. Tell me, what are some of the benefits someone like Elon Musk or other big tech companies behind this super PAC might gain if we do end up seeing a second Trump presidency?
Well, first of all, I think the Trump administration has a lot to gain from their support. I mean, there's a lot of money being dedicated from this one super PAC to his campaign and the get out the vote efforts for the campaign, and door knocking and signing up voters and getting people to register. So that's one thing. And then someone like Elon Musk, who's got a giant microphone. First of all, he's someone in the business community that's, kind of iconic. He's this big titan of industry. He oversees 6 different companies, many of them very successful. On top of that, he bought Twitter. He owned the biggest microphone that you could have as it relates to social media. So for someone like that to own the platform and then be endorsing you and having a lot of pro Donald Trump rhetoric on the platform, I think that's also very important. As it relates to what these companies could get from a Trump presidency, there's been a sense when we speak to VCs, venture capitalists, and CEOs in the Valley that they've been frustrated by the antitrust environment under the Biden administration as it relates to tech. There have been a lot of challenged mergers. They are frustrated by the way that cryptocurrency has been handled by the Biden administration. It's not viewed as cryptocurrency friendly, whereas Trump has made that a big selling point of the second administration. And there are other things that they're worried about in Democratic hands, like artificial intelligence. So you could see that there could be ways where they'd want to influence potential policy as it relates to big tech, innovation, artificial intelligence, and the like.
Tell me, of course, as you mentioned, he has an extremely powerful microphone. I mean, he has 193 million followers on X. How will Musk's shift to the Republican mindset, or at least his very public endorsement of Donald Trump, we can't really tell where he might be ideologically fully, how might that influence his followers when it's time to cast their vote in this year's election? What demographic does this work on?
Well, I would say that Elon is sort of singular in terms of his fan base. His shareholders are sort of rabid about him and his leadership. He's got an army of followers that really look up to him and, listen to every word he says. So I think he is very influential in those communities. And then also having such a big name CEO come out in support of Donald Trump, where, the last election cycle, CEOs really didn't do that. They were trying to distance themselves from the Trump campaign because of different things that had happened. It emboldens a lot of other people to come out and show their support too. And we've seen that in Silicon Valley in particular.
Dana, thank you so much for that. Thanks for your time and your expertise tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Dana Mattioli is a Wall Street Journal reporter, and she joined us from Brooklyn, New York.